down. Okay,
Yay.
wonder if the webinar is started
Help us
though or
out to
not.
some.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. Panelists. I don't see where the start webinar has gone to button. I'm just going to take the.
How are you?
For a second. Let's see.
Yeah.
FaceTime camera. Here's the start webinar button. Let's get this thing started. Okay, the webinar is officially started. How about that? And do you have the attendee list up yourself?
I do.
Okay, I'm going to close my attendee window because it obviously interferes with the camera here. And then I'm going to start move over to owl mode again.
Recording in progress.
Okay, I'm just I went into the webinar from the phone just to
Yeah.
check.
So
I'm
good,
not gonna stay
that's working there.
That's working, yeah.
So at this point, we'll let the participants, we do have more participants coming in. So I think we're ready to start with our amazing new hybrid technology here. Ed and Penny, can you give me a sound check again here?
Penny
Yes,
Kirk here.
1, 2, 3.
Great. And how's the view on your laptop there? Are you getting sort of a, sort of a mosaic of with you at the top and you two at the top and then the people in this room sort of below
I
it? Is
get
that-
Steve and Reg and Steve and me and Ed. Where's Janice?
So Janice is dialing in remotely. So we're still waiting on Janice here.
And I see Cheryl as well.
Great. And Jessica, can you give us a sound check with our new technology here?
Sure. Hi, everyone.
Perfect.
I just,
Hi, Jeff.
My God.
That's great.
Third time is a charm. I hope we're, the first two tests were not too terrifically successful. So let's check with Janice and see if she's having trouble getting in here. Do you have Janice's cell phone? Probably better for you to do it here. I don't usually they send me a text. Give her a ring and see if she's got a trouble with her link and.
Okay.
Or is Janice in attending as attendee needs to be
trying.
promoted?
She sent me a text message. I'm trying.
Sue Biazizo is trying to get in, I know.
Yeah, she is.
All right, promote her to a
You're the
web
host.
panelist,
You're the
not a
host.
post.
You're the
No.
host.
You can see
Oh,
us.
I have to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, Janice can see us, but
All
she
right,
can't
hold on.
get in.
stand by. I think, funny, you're not as co-host here.
She's in the attendee list.
Right,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
getting there.
I can hear
So,
'em.
there she
When you're in.
is.
And you're in it, just can't
And
see you on
more.
the screen yet.
Promote to panels.
There you are. I think you're coming in now.
All right,
Who is MK?
I don't know.
Okay.
Engage with
Janice, I
everyone.
think we have you on screen and maybe you could,
Yeah, she's muted and her video is turned off.
so I'm going to send her and ask her to do an unmute message here
She can hear you.
and ask to start the video. Sometimes with her setup, she gets a request. It makes the configuration go better
There she
here. All
is.
right.
Ah, there you go.
You're still muted, Janice. No, wrong one. Microphone.
I lost your camera, lost everything.
Okay, Rich,
There
you have
you
to
go.
send me, I can't unmute it myself if you don't unmute it on your end.
Oh,
You're unmuted.
yeah,
You're
you're
unmuted now.
doing well, but that shouldn't be, but we'll figure that out later. It's a minor miracle. We're actually all here in our first hybrid meeting. Great. So I think we have all the commissioners we're going to have, and Eleanor is not going to be able to join us, so I will address that in a minute. But at this point, at whatever time it has become, 7:40, I will call the May monthly meeting of the Needham Housing Authority Board of Commissioners to order and call the roll. And we'll supposedly have to do the roll call for everything here. So Reg Foster is here.
Penny Kirk's here.
And
Janice
Chad,
Bennett? Yeah,
Ed and Penny and Janice are all here. So we have 4 out of the 5. I unfortunately found out, and Steve did
I
this
have
afternoon.
I have a
Well,
note from.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a note from Commissioner Evans that saying hello. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to attend tonight's meeting. My mother passed away recently. Her memorial service is on Saturday. As her only child, it's falling on me to plan and implement, to write and deliver her eulogy, and to be here for family and friends as they come into town beforehand. I need to focus all my energy on that right now. I know there will be discussion and vote this evening on offices for the coming year. Could one of you share the following with the board? I was asked whether I would consider serving as chair. I appreciate being asked, but unfortunately, due to family and professional circumstances, I don't have the bandwidth to be chair right now. I would be willing to stay on as vice chair and occasionally fill in as chair at meetings. However, depending on how things stand with my family and professional life next year at this time, and provided that the board dynamics improve between now and then, I could consider taking on the chair role at that point. Thanks very much. All the best, Eleanor.
Well, I think I speak for everybody here that we are deeply sorry that Eleanor has this situation going on. Of course, we understand that she can't make it tonight, and we wish her the absolute best strength and courage. Our prayers are with her as she goes through this tough period of time. So, yeah, that is what it is. So I will just go back to.
excuse me, Reg.
Yes,
I would like to know if she left any way to have us send any type of a condolence.
she didn't leave any way, but of course you have her email address, so that would
Yeah.
be a way of doing it. I don't have any, information about the memorial service or, flowers, don't send flowers and some contribution in lieu of whatever. I don't have any of that kind of information. We received this email mid-afternoon, Steve and I did, so that's about all we know right now.
Okay, thank you.
I would anticipate sending flowers from the authority. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get that information. I don't have it yet either.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Yeah. I just thought it'd be nice if we could, you know.
Great idea. Great idea. All right, we ready to go back to, the mundane here by comparison? First, I just need to state that the public notice of this meeting was filed with the town clerk on May 13th, 2022. I should also want to announce, if it isn't already obvious to everybody, that this is our first ever attempt at a hybrid meeting. It's we did get a tutorial from the town. Most all of the town meetings have now moved to in-person meetings. And so last month, and the month before when that was happening, I announced last month that we would be trying to make that transition too, but not leave behind the streaming, which we've all gotten used to because it's so convenient when you can't make it into the room. Of course, I did not anticipate that in the last month to 6 weeks that the COVID infectious rate was going to double and double again. And so I'm not quite sure what we will be doing at the June meeting here. We'll just have to play it by ear, but here we are. And at least we are giving the technology a bench test here. So I think that's all the chairman's announcements. So we'll move on to resident input. We have Jessica Reese with us here today to test our new Zoom Owl camera here. So you'll be the first public speaker in the audience. And if Penny and Ed, if Janice, if you can't hear her, just please speak up because there are some volume controls that we may have to fiddle with here, both for the mic and for the speakerphone.
I'll try to speak loud.
So you go first, and then any of the other residents who are interested in speaking, just do the usual, put your hands up and we'll try to call on you in turn here. Go ahead, Jessica.
So one thing I wanted to ask, if that the TA Tenants Association, if for next month, we can start getting a spot on the agenda to talk about the things that are happening within the community. Not personally about people, but just stuff that's going on. We have some things going on with the Needham Community Farm. They have some grants where they got to plant down at Captain Robert Cook and at Seabed's Way. So we're in the works of trying to figure out how to spend the money and how to, because she came to me, the manager over there, whatnot. So I just, just the guys to give you guys an update as to what's going on and other residents throughout the area. If they don't come to our meetings as to what is going on, we'd like to get a, just a segment spot, kind of just to do kind of what I'm doing right now, basically.
Great.
My
so-
other,
Go ahead.
sorry, my other thing was, I had a list and I forgot it, was to, I don't have the agenda. It's been given to me in the past. I didn't get this one this month, but I know that some of the things that involve the residents and their input always gets put on the bottom of the agenda. And we're wondering, because these meetings go really long, if possibly those things could be moved up a little bit. I don't know. And there was no robocalls. We haven't had any robocalls lately. And that's something I think a lot of especially if it's Seabeds, they got used to. So that's just one other thing that I wanted to bring up. But other than that, that's pretty much it for us.
Steve, do you want to address
Just
the robocall on the agenda?
robocalls, it's funny you say Seabeds because I had a meeting with Seabeds residents yesterday. Wednesday,
right.
yesterday. And I actually had several complaints that we were robocalling too much.
That's
And
true
people
too.
aren't listening. They hang up.
True. Yeah, that's true too. I
Um,
would say that.
Yeah, so.
But we
it's-
just had some complaints we didn't have a formal TA meeting this month because of 2 of our members weren't able to make it. And so we did like a resident roundtable. And I guess one of the issues was like one of the coffees that they had that there's usually a robocall and only like 2 people showed up this time when normally it's more than that. And after the robocalls, but I mean, they were a little bit too much, but I think, I don't know. I felt like last night people were complaining that they didn't get them and they liked those. So I don't know.
We'll try to get a handle on it
Yeah.
and try to manage it a little bit because I had complaints here as well. So, I mean, we all know we get robocalls and, at 3:30 in the afternoon, you get a robocall from somebody selling car
Right,
insurance. And
Right.
So it's less than effective and so we'll try to work it and
Work something
be a
out,
little
yeah.
more judicious on how it's used.
Okay.
Things like, blood pressure clinics, we definitely want to do something like that.
Yeah.
Where there's people coming in from outside of the agency.
That's true.
But, yeah, we'll work on that more.
Yeah.
it's all about communication. I talked to Seabed's Way about that. And that's when it kind of came back, well, you're over communicating on
Yeah.
that, because we're not listening.
Right,
But it's communication, but it's also productive communication. that we
right,
have to do, so,
absolutely. I agree.
We'll find our way.
Okay,
We talk about it in the office, everybody talks about it, with,
yeah,
you know, whether we do a robocall or not, that started in the last week or two.
okay.
And we'll try to make the right decisions.
Uh,
We won't make all the right decisions,
I
but we'll
know.
try.
I will make
So-
one comment, which is I've noticed that we use a smart robocall system. So sometimes if you just don't answer, it goes to an answering machine and it gets cut off at, you know, that gives you the last 10 seconds of the robocall. Ours waits for the answering machine or the voicemail system to cut in and leaves the entire message.
Hmm,
So, you know, that is there is that option if we want to use it here.
Yeah.
And on the agenda question that Jessica had, she didn't get a copy of the agenda.
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't send one out to her.
Marie usually emailed it,
That's-
but I guess I looked and I didn't see one this month, so.
We'll
It
make sure
it
she
is
does.
posted
We'll
at
just
the
put it in.
town.
Yeah, that's
you
true,
know,
too.
so-
Okay, well, as the president, you'll get one.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just-
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
I
just-
will definitely send it to you
Yeah.
monthly, yeah.
Sounds good.
And then
Ross
on,
got his, so.
and then on your Jessica's suggestion of having a sort of standing spot for the tenants association, I'll just turn to the other commissioners and say, do you have any comments or thoughts about that? I would guess that would probably be at the beginning of the meeting, given your comment. Usually we try to do all the resident stuff up at the beginning
Yeah,
if we can, for the reasons that you
Mhm.
pointed out.
absolutely.
But does any of the other commissioners have a comment on that?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Penny.
I think it's Janice.
And then
No,
Ed-
Janice, go ahead if that was you.
Yeah, I can't see anybody right now, but I just wanted to make a comment about the robocalls. I imagine people up at CBIT probably get more with the blood pressure clinics, but believe me, that is important for them. But as far as the other things go, I believe the robocall should be in there for the monthly meetings, just because you're dealing with elderly and probably some mentally challenged people. Just to CYA, so they know. I think it's a good idea for the monthly meeting to be a robocall if we're meeting hybrid. So. And the tenant association spot, yeah, I've been asking for them to have a spot on the agenda. It doesn't mean that they're gonna have something to say every month, but if they do, they should have their spot. Done.
Okay, and do you have a comment on having a regular standing agenda item at the beginning of the meeting for the tenants association report?
Yes, that's what I was just referring to.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Whether they use it or not.
Yeah,
Right.
go ahead, Ed.
On page 3 for the status updates, the external initiatives, where we're presenting reports, that would seem to make a great deal of sense to have a placeholder there for the tenant organization.
I'm indifferent. What about you, Penny?
I agree. There ought to be a regular spot. If there's nothing to be said, Jessica will say, I don't have a report, but she should have a spot there automatically.
Steve, do you have any wisdom?
I mean, I would put it at the top of the meeting with, you know, when the public is, the community's watching, and put it either right after the president or right before. And I don't see where it would fit otherwise.
Well,
Okay,
let's try it
Rich.
out and see how it
Okay.
works that way, and then we can always move it.
Reg, the other thing that Jess was alluding to was the fact that, like, in this month's board packet, the community room issues are on the last page. I mean, a lot of the residents are on to hear about that type of thing. They don't want to be here till 10 o'clock at night waiting to hear it. You know, I mean, that should be in the forefront.
Well, we
As
can
well.
move that, we can move that up if everybody
Yeah.
wants to do that. That's our, you know, we have, definitely can do that.
And then we can conduct business, you know, and go right along.
Okay, Sounds good. So we'll move.
So Ed's waving
Should we
his
do-
hand.
I just wanted to summarize what Janice suggested, which is right after we do resident input, we'll go to agenda item E, which is I'm sorry, F, agenda item F here. Okay, go ahead, Ed.
I think, if I understood Steve correctly, it certainly makes sense to include it under the resident community input, which would be right after the announcements from the chair, and that would be at the beginning of the meeting. That would satisfy people who are just tuning in to hear that, what's going on in the community. So I changed my recommendation to agree with, if I understood Steve correctly, to include it with the resident community input, which would be item number 2 on the agenda.
Okay, good. Any other comments? Great. Any other resident input? Go ahead, Ross.
There's a hand up, by the way,
There was,
for
okay.
the community council.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, I have a number of things. I'll just rip right through it. Because these are all the things I hope to follow up on personally with people. But let me see. First of all, the cleaners, when they were here, I mentioned to them, I don't know how this happened, but I mentioned to them that the windows were all painted shut. So it'd be nice in May to open the windows. Not in a way that they got back to you. I asked them to, ask around and see if they could do that extra work or something, but they must have gone around and done it. They did it themselves. So just wanted to start off with something positive. It's great to have the air blowing through here. Anyway, I'm wondering if with the consultant that's being hired, if the board maybe could take a little bit of time to look over what happened over the past 3 years. It was kind of extraordinary in a lot of ways, not a personal evaluation, but I think we kind of missed an opportunity. I tried to reach out to Angie to, come on over and talk to us. What did you learn? What was your experience like? For the first, I'd say 6 months, I was meeting with her about every couple of weeks. And I thought things were really happening and it kind of fell apart. But I think it was an extraordinary 3 years. And it's going to be helpful to review that. One of the things I'd like to have people consider, if you will, is a resident-centered policy, a resident-centered approach. Often in schools, it's student-centered, or the hospitals or health clinics get the idea that it should be patient-centered. And I think that's something to consider. It keeps the residents' interest in the mix. Let's see. And going back over my notes, it's 3 years ago, we did a search process to find Angie. And I found a lot of the notes interesting. Like one of the things was a discussion of the mission, the number one mission statement being to be the best landlord possible, or to be an excellent landlord. There was also a second kind of mission discussed at the time, which was that the board's job was to do strategic planning and so forth, longer term, deeper, bigger money, that sort of thing. But I think a resident-centered approach would help to prioritize the needs of the resident population to see whether we're really doing the job from the residents' point of view. Things like accessibility. I didn't even understand or fully appreciate what accessibility meant until we started working on the garden and trying to make the garden accessible. To me, it was like, what? It's on the ground. How could it be any more accessible? But there are issues of getting around on the ground and so forth. And we had the opportunity to kind of help address that issue, or at least consider accessibility, but nobody knew that the beds were being replaced by the police. So there's a real lack of communication there, communication and
Just
coordination.
want to let you know your 3 minutes are up.
Yeah.
here.
Okay, well, let's see. There've been discussions about the grounds, and I think there's been some new sensibility. I can tell, dirt is going on where the roots are exposed. Things are being cut down a little bit more sensitively. But I think we could still consider, a dandelion refuge in a serious manner. multiple garden, even talking with Gary, for instance, he used the word uniformity. 3 years ago, we talked about that and rejected that term in the interest of diversity. The word today is diversity. So individual gardens, you know, if you're talking about uniformity, it doesn't work here. It's not a goal. It's not desirable. Convenience, you know, if you're doing work, that's important. You want to be efficient, and we can actually make things better if you know, the grounds are, you know, plant selection, things like that are all going to make a difference.
If you could just
I'd
wrap
like to
up,
see
that would be
160.
great.
I'll
Yeah,
just run
yeah.
through the rest of
yeah,
this.
thank you.
164 Linden needs to be opened. That's been promised for every the past 3 or 4 people, and it was used for a while. I used the room to work with what's his name, Brian, on going over the plans and stuff. And now that we've got things, we're going to be working on documents. That'd be a perfect location. A lot of them are stored there now. Let's see. Yeah, communication and coordination. I got the feeling that Springwell was being left out of things, you know, and maybe not being included somehow. Now, this is what the feeling I was getting was that she wanted the office to print up some stuff. And here it is the middle of May, and we didn't have something printed. So a lot of noted activities were not, I mean, it's just what she was saying.
Let's move on here, Ross, and see, we have another hand up here.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything?
Okay, yeah,
I just wanted to say one thing,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. So
Ross
Steve,
brought up mission, and I'm sitting here right now with Egamite. Ed had asked about putting the mission statement back on the agenda. And it's in a nice folder on my desk, and I just forgot about it, Ed, this month. I will remember next month. That's just, until it was mentioned here, I just forgot about it. I'm sorry about that.
So we have to recognize Steve's got a very steep learning curve here. And so maybe some of these things you mentioned, like 164 Linden Street, you know, hopefully he's made a note, and Cheryl, and he can follow up, but let's go on to the rest of the
Steve's been
comments
very
here.
accessible. Just a couple of other things.
No,
What's with
Ross.
the surveillance cameras.
Why
you
don't
know?
you send an email or
Oh,
something?
okay,
I guess
yeah,
just in the
I'd be
interest
happy
of.
to do that.
Okay, great. So we got somebody says Needham Community Council here, and I've enabled you to speak, whoever you are. So first, identify yourself.
It's me,
Sue.
it's me, Sue. I don't know how that happened. Can you hear me?
Sue,
Yes,
Yes.
Sue, okay, yes.
Yes,
okay.
now I do agree with Janice as far as the robocalls, especially since there was a lot of confusion about this meeting being hybrid. I can see from the top that you've only got a couple of people in there. If people knew that they could come in person to the meeting, that would have been one thing. You might have had more folks. And also, we cannot get the agenda for tonight's meeting, which I've always been able to do. The only way I was able to get on here was going through April and clicking on the agenda and clicking on Zoom there. May cannot access the agenda for tonight. Also, Jessica and I did meet for a roundtable last night. And one thing I think is important to mention, that we're gonna set up a kind of a special meeting to let people know, explain what their leases mean. A lot of people think that it's, you know, the yearly certification paperwork, which it is not. And they quite often, when they sign in, you know, sign on when they get the apartment, you know, they just put it away and forget about it. And they don't realize what the tenant is obligated to do, what the housing authority is obligated to do. And this is something they should definitely be made aware of. And maybe Jessica, I'll say it right now, that and we might have another meeting about policies, because people don't know where to go look for policies. They don't know what they are. And I think the more knowledge that they have, the better it is for everybody, because even the housing authority does not always follow their own policies. We've noticed that in the past 3 years. So that's all I needed to say. So
Thanks so much, Sue. And I'm going to go ahead and mute you here, but I want to do some technical notes for us for next time. So I think we have to have somebody else driving, the thing, because you look at my screen, it's so tiny, I can't even, it's like,
Yeah.
I didn't bring my magnifying glass to kind of run things, and it's sort of distracting here, so that, and then if somebody can keep an eye out for hands up or anything like that, that would be great. And I'm gonna just put this away here. And are there any other, I think that's it for all resident comment. Is that right? Okay, good. So we'll move on to agenda item F. And Sue, also, I would say if you want to grab yourself a copy of the agenda item, if you go to the Needham Town calendar, the town of Needham's calendar, and go to this date, and you have to hit scroll down on it. It will display the Needham Housing Authority posted meeting, and then if you click on that meeting, it'll show you what the agenda is. So maybe that's a quick and dirty way to get there tonight. Okay, so first up on agenda item F is a report from the steering committee that we formed last month, consisting of Janice Bennett, Penny Kirk, Jessica Reese, and Steve Merritt. And, the steering committee has a charter that we discussed last month, which encompassed both the reopening of the community room and also the rebooting of the after-school program. Who of the steering committee is reporting out tonight? Or do you want to start, Steve, as ex officio member here?
There was a meeting of the other three.
Are you confusing the two? I'm sorry, I'm just thinking, if you're talking about the after-school program, isn't that the one that is Janice and Penny and I?
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
think,
don't think it really.
all right, well, I
Well,
thought we were
also had a
talking,
search committee that included Steve.
Not the
Janice,
search
so maybe
committee.
That's what I'm thinking.
no, not the
Oh.
search committee.
Okay, I'm
No, I
sorry.
think this is the after-school committee,
Okay, yes.
and
Okay.
Steve is on this. And I didn't, Steve, I want to apologize. I called the meeting with Janice and Jessica, and I didn't even tell you about the meeting, but I sent you the minutes.
I didn't know he was on the committee,
I didn't realize either.
Neither did I.
but welcome to the committee.
Sorry about that.
So I'm just going to go to the minutes of the April 21st meeting.
Well, hold on, Reg, hold on. We have to make a report, don't we, about that
Well,
meeting?
all right, yeah, make a report, go ahead.
Well, okay, we had the report. I did make up the minutes. Rather than read them all, I can send them to all of you if you'd like.
Well, that too, but go ahead, and a brief report, I think, would be in order tonight.
All right, everyone inspected the equipment list, clarifications made about the flat screen TV, not quite sure if they are compatible with appropriate use in the program. Update made about being in touch with Linda Hurley and Josh Stevenson, that's the Nobles and the Babson people. They're both on board. Josh and Penny will talk on the phone next Tuesday, and we did. Has COVID and can't meet in person. Penny still has to reach out to Tom Denton. I have, but he hasn't returned my call yet, and find out and find contact to Olin. I have left a message at Olin. They haven't gotten back to me yet. We need to alert the community council that we will need kitchen equipment. Discussion about money for resident services coordinator. Jessica said that she would like to apply for director of the program, but not the RSC position. There will have to be a posting for the RSC position. Penny and Ed will talk with Steve about that. Possible grants, Sun Life, Roach Brothers, Needham Bank, Beth Israel. The bank and Roach Brothers always give. Beth Israel has already given. Sun Life has never given, but should be approached. Janice and Jessica will add items to the equipment list as they think of them. Jessica suggested having a movie projector in the parking lot over the summer. Penny will approach the community council for the kitchen items, and I have done that. And Sandy Robinson is more than willing to, we'll make a list and they will start putting aside things as good quality things come in. There needs to be further discussion about furniture. The committee needs to have access to 28. And I have already emailed Steve about this. We need to have keys as a committee. Jessica is able to meet with Jill Olive and Penny on Thursday at number 28. To follow up, yes, I did meet with Sandy Robinson. She's all in on that. Kathy Bird will start setting things aside as they come in. The next meeting, May 26th at 1:30. And we've talked about having it here at Rosemary Ridge in the community room, but I'm open to having it anywhere you like.
Okay,
One question I have is, who is going to be raising the money? There's a list of the money that has been raised in the past. We were supplied with that. It says that the community council gave $2,500. That's not correct. It was about 500, I think. But the other, there should be a file drawer filled with the references of all the places that have given to us in the past. My suggestion would be since Jill Olive is giving her time in terms of consulting with and meeting with us, if she were to be given the task of raising money, maybe we should pay her to do that. But that we probably need to discuss that. That's it.
I
Anything
was looking
else?
for the donation from the BID for the $5,000. I didn't see that included.
On the
So,
list, that's right. But supposedly they've already given that money,
yeah,
but I don't know where the money is. Oh, and there's another thing. I saw Salim today, and he told me that a month ago, Angie said that she would let me know as soon as the money came in. She never did that. But we do have the $750 for the music series, so I can now start coordinating the musicians that I had in mind.
Anything else, Janice?
no,
Well, we
Yes.
need to know where that money, that $5,000 is,
yeah.
because it was earmarked for the after-school program, as I understand it.
If it came in that way, it's earmarked, then it's in a separate,
Yeah,
Okay,
we have accounted for it. I mean, it's not lost, trust me.
Yeah.
If it's coming in, I'll check on that.
I just wanted to state, when she talked about getting stuff from the council, I didn't think it would be an issue, but like my mother is in the process of cleaning out my aunt's house, and she's a hoarder, but of like really good stuff. And so she picked up a whole bunch of like stuff that I said, if anything, we can use kitchen stuff, any type of just stuff. So she has a couple pots and pans that are in brand spanking new condition that we're gonna try to keep adding up, but whatever, we can need, so where we don't have to outsource funds in any way too. I don't know if that's okay, but
I don't know if it's okay either. And I think what you're talking about now is crossing into a meal program. I think instead of an after school, and in these days with COVID, I'm not sure that things that have to be washed are the smartest way to go as opposed to disposable items. So I'm not sure that the program is thought out very well right now. We're putting a cart before the horse. We don't have money to support this program. The service coordinator is not designated for just families. It says our elderly need the service coordination, and that's what it's been for years here, and that's what a service coordinator's main job is. And I tell you, I have a lot of elderly that need service coordination right now, and I've only been here for 6 weeks, so.
as the service coordinator for 10 years, I had a responsibility of all the residents and overseeing the after-school program.
And you did it well.
You did it well, and that was your passion, and I appreciate that. We do have a position that was advertised before I got here. So there is an ad out there. I actually have one person who contacted me this week who's interested in it. And we'll be talking with that person in a week or two. But
I do think we need to, I know that Cheryl's job description includes the after-school program, and I think that's asking too much of her. I think
Well,
it
they
should
put it
be
in there after she was hired. They changed it, so.
May I suggest for the board meeting that this is just a status update? And to my ears, the best thing I'm hearing is we're discussing all these things. And it's not a surprise there are problems ahead to get it started up, whether money problems or staffing problems or any other kind of problems. And I would encourage that we take this offline and keep working this in between board meetings and come back maybe with something that's some of these problems addressed, and unless anybody else has anything else to say, I think we got the status work. I just wanted to point out for the board members that the budget at the last page of the board packet on page 57 has a date on it that says 5/13/2022. But when I questioned Steve about that, you surmised that that was auto updated by Excel.
Right.
This is actually the budget that we created in January, to my eyes. We didn't double check it line for line, when we thought we were going to be starting off on March 1st. So this is just illustrative of something that needs to be updated in a major way for all of these sorts of things, including sources of funds that we've already received, like the BID one, or are accustomed to receiving that might be missing. So just want to point that out here before we move on. Okay, and
Just if I could, as one side
Yeah.
note, I just want to point out, we had a request from the school department for a list of residents at Cooks Bridge who are entering kindergarten because they wanted to schedule potentially a couple of dates. We have one person turning 5 years old
okay,
eligible for kindergarten, one child.
great. So going back to agenda item F. Is there anything in progress report on the community center? I'm not sure we covered that yet.
I don't know the floors.
Community center,
Oh.
returning the office 28 Captain Robert Cook into a community center here.
Gary is working on it. I don't know if I know the flooring has been contracted to be put down, but I don't know that it has at this point.
Okay,
So I will have to verify that.
The flooring, doesn't that usually go in last? Don't they have to deal with those walls? that
The
are coming
interior
down?
walls have to come down. I thought I need an update on that. I don't know that that's been done or not. I thought the walls had been torn down, but I could be wrong on that.
Not as of this week, they weren't.
Okay, then I will follow up.
okay, so F3 status update. Plan to return unit 42 to service. Any update there?
I'm sorry.
Well,
We can't do anything until the community room is done.
Okay,
So
I'm
we can
just,
clear up. No,
I'm
that's
just
so we can clear out.
systematically working my way through the
No,
agenda.
no, I'm
out
not,
of
I don't
order
mean to
here.
react, but that's,
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
that's
didn't
all right.
catch.
But,
That's a,
okay, and I think we talked about F4, the after-school program budget, which is obviously a work in progress here. F5 is the paving project, Seabed's Way and Captain Robert Cook are currently being procured. I think that's your agenda item there, Steve.
yeah, so there's only partial money set aside at this point, and given the news this week that I will update a little bit later on the new capital fund and where we are, I would hope to expand that project because it is in really horrible disrepair. The
Yeah.
roadways, it's just not, both places. So we are working with HUD. I had an email this afternoon from HUD about our environmental work that may need to be done in order to spend the money. It's just, it's kind of a pro forma, but you have to have it done. So we will, that's active right now. It's just not.
And then number 6, F6, is there any update there on the CCTV system
For here, so no, for down,
for Seabeds and Cook? We took this agenda item out of order, so you got to go to F6 on the
yes,
second.
okay, yeah. We don't have,
I know that
Closed
Angie,
circuit TV,
Yes, yeah.
had been
It's-
in
yeah.
communication with the consultant about that, but nothing else has.
Right, that's where it is
About
now.
it.
Okay, it's at the consultant or the engineer to engineer the system so that then it can go out for bid. That we have to have a set of specs because it is a fairly large project, so it has to go out for engineering and then come back. Thank you for.
So yeah, that
Touching
was
my
what we
memory on that.
reported last month.
Yeah.
And it's in the minutes.
It's
So there's
still-
really no
it's still-
change.
There's no change.
We're waiting for that engineering report to come back. And then what we talked about last month is then we will see what we got to address the concerns of the tenants and residents who are, as far as I can tell, split 50-50 between the tenants and residents who think this is a great idea and the tenants and residents that think this is Big Brother watching you. So no surprise there. But we'll see what we get. Great. Any other commissioner comments or questions about agenda item number F, letter F? Hearing none, I'm going to circle around to the beginning of the agenda here, okay? So we're at A1 and 2. A1 is to review and approve the NHA bill check warrant that is in your packet. Are there any questions from any commissioners on that? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. I will make a motion to approve the bill check roll listed in the warrant dated May 20th, 2022 in the amount of $360,135.73 as further listed in your agenda. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Second from Janice. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify, oh, we can't do that, can
No,
we?
yeah,
We have to do a roll call vote. That's going to add a few minutes to our meeting. I'll call the roll. Penny Kirk, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ed Scheidler, how do you vote?
Aye.
Janice Bennett, how do you vote?
aye.
Reg Foster votes aye, so that's 4-0 with one commissioner absent, so that passes. And now we go to the High Rock Home LLC bill check warrant. It is in your packet there. Are there any questions with respect to those expenditures? Hearing none, I will call for the roll call vote. First, I make a motion to approve the payment bill roll check roll listed in the warrant dated May 19th, 2022 in the amount of $11,648.17. And do I hear a second?
Second,
I think we got Janice in there by the wire. All those, oh, no, I'm going to have to adjust my routine that's just sort of drilled into me. So I'll call the roll here. Penny Kirk, you vote.
Aye.
Ed Scheidler,
Aye.
Janice Bennett,
aye.
Reg Foster votes aye. So it passes 4-0 with one absence here. Okay, we are now on agenda item A3, which we kind of put here because we didn't really have any other place to put it. The board had a second training session with John Wortman a week or two ago, and that went very well. And we've agreed to do a third training session with him. Steve, do you have any information on his fee and his engagement letter or anything?
So I don't have the letter yet. Did ask for it. We got an email from him last week, well, the 11th, last week, saying that his normal rate for an hour-and-a-half training or 2-hour facilitation is $2,500. The Needham discount was $1,500 for the first and $1,000 for future sessions. So I asked him, he asked if he can send over a simple contract and who would be the signer. I asked him to send it to me. I have not received that yet.
Okay, great.
So it's either $1,500 or $1,000 for the next session.
Okay,
I'm not-
1,500, I believe, is
It's
the way I would
probably-
interpret it.
Okay.
So this is, I think, sort of for the board, the information item, because at last month's meeting, we did vote to engage John and and have Steve execute the paperwork. So you'll see that in the minutes that we're going to be approving in a minute, few minutes here. He did say that last session was pro bono, I think, in that email that you're referring
Yes.
to.
Yeah.
So he didn't
Yeah.
charge us for last time at all. So I certainly think that's a reasonable fee to charge. And speaking personally, I've been getting a lot of benefit out of the training sessions. I don't feel a need for an additional vote, since we took the vote last month. Is everybody else, all the other commissioners, okay with that? And I notice I'm looking over here because my laptop is there, my visual cue. I should be looking at the owl there. So
Yeah, I know.
we're gonna have to,
Don't worry,
that's
look.
another note. We're gonna have to figure out how to do this, because when I put that would be a little bit better, but it's sort of ugly in the, so.
I just had a question about,
Yes.
so this will be our third. Is there any way to gauge, if we're gonna do this down the road after the third?
Well, if you're asking me, I think we're going to discuss this on a case-by-case basis. Each time we'll decide if, we
If we
receive
want more?
sufficient value and whether we want to schedule another session. That would be my answer.
Okay, month to month.
Yeah,
There was no schedule on the proposed contract. Not that I have it, I don't have it, but he did not propose a schedule, so it'd be meeting by meeting, I would
so
assume.
our next meeting is scheduled for the 21st at 10 a.m. Hopefully
No,
everybody. has
isn't it the
that.
24th?
Tuesday, the 21st, I believe, at 10 a.m.
I thought it was the June 24th? Oh, no, June 22nd, first. I don't know, I thought it was the 24th.
All right, so everybody put that in their calendars. And any other comments from anybody? Great. Super. I'm going to bring up another point that came up when I was discussing this with Steve when we were preparing for the meeting. Steve is going to be signing contracts for us under Chapter 30B. We need to appoint him as Chief Procurement Officer of the Needham Housing Authority under the requirements of Chapter 30B, which is the procurement laws that apply to us. And it was something I just overlooked until I was talking to Steve about the agenda this afternoon. And so without objection from the commissioners, I'd like to, Steve may already be signing other things that he needs to have this approval. I believe you are experienced in this area, Steve. Would that be fair?
That would
to
be a fair
assume?
statement, yes.
So I would make a motion to appoint Steve Merritt, our IED, as the Needham Housing Authority Chief Procurement Officer. Do I hear a second? Second from Penny. Any discussion? Hearing none.
I have a just,
Yes, go ahead.
isn't Cheryl a procurement officer as well? Doesn't she have that experience?
Cheryl, have you gone through the certification?
I have, but it's been many years ago. So it's been more than 10 years. And it's that I've had the certification for procurement. But Steve is the executive director.
Yeah.
So,
There's only one
General
chief
Falls.
procurement officer, not two. But that is really good to know about that, Cheryl.
I just thought I'd bring that up.
Given your goals that you've shared with all of us with this new gig that you have here, there is a great course that you might want to consider taking, and it's updated. There have been some changes in the last 10 years. So great suggestion, Janice. Any other comments? Okay, let's go on. We're on minutes now. We're on-
Can I interrupt you, please?
Go ahead. Didn't see you.
What's the date for John Wortman?
The 21st of June,
21st, okay.
10 a.m.
10
Yeah, I
a.m.
thought there was confusion there, and I had the 21st on my calendar.
Don't we need to vote on this motion?
For procurement, yeah, we stopped. I
Yeah, sorry.
interrupted.
I seconded, and then,
Yeah.
but we haven't voted.
Right, we'll take a roll call vote. Boy, you get set in the habits of doing meetings just a given way and, your brain turns off. So I'm going to call the roll again. Penny Kirk, your vote.
Aye.
Ed Scheidler, your vote.
Aye.
Dennis Bennett, your vote.
Aye.
And Reg Foster votes aye. So that's 4-0 with one absence here. Congratulations, Mr. Chief Procurement Officer. Now I will go, and with everybody keep me on the straight and narrow, to agenda item B. We have 3 sets of minutes. We have the amended March 17 minutes for the NHA and HRA, HRH LLC meetings. There was some stuff that was omitted a little by oversight that was been added in by Cheryl. And so I will make a motion that we approve those amended minutes that are in our board packet. Do I hear a second?
Second.
A second, Janice by the wire. Any comments or corrections from anybody? Hearing none, I call the roll. Penny Kirk, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ed Scheidler, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dennis Bennett, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, so that's 4-0 with one absence. And now we come to the minutes of the March 17, 2022 executive session, which have only been shared with the board members in your packet, but will not be shared with the public until they are declassified or whatever you do under the open meeting law here. And I make a motion that we approve those minutes. Do I hear a second? Second from Janice. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying, no.
Roll call.
Penny Kirk,
Aye.
Scheidler,
Aye.
Dennis Bennett,
Aye.
Reg Foster votes aye. I actually think we were supposed to be doing this for the last 2 years. When I read the stuff that Steve sent out to us,
Yeah.
it was very politely letting me know that. But I do swear it cuts off 5 or 10 minutes from the length of our meetings here. We were looking for opportunities to do that. We now have the minutes of the April 21st, 2022 NHA and HRH meetings. I make a motion that we approve those minutes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Janice. Any comments or corrections on those minutes? Yes, go ahead, Penny.
Yes, on page 31. It says that Angie said that the only thing missing in unit 42 right now is a washer and dryer hooked up. But also there has to be a wall put back. It was taken out when it was made into the after-school program.
The
And doors
partition
have to
wall?
be- I'm sorry?
The partition wall.
The
That's what it
partition
was.
wall, right. And plus the doors have to be put back on.
Okay, I think somebody else made that comment, and it didn't get into the minutes. I think that Angie actually, the only thing Angie said was the wash dryer. But can we delegate the researching of this to our faithful minute taker, Cheryl Gosman, who will get those points added just so the record is correct? I do remember
Yeah,
that.
it
those points being-
It was Gary that brought it up. Gary said they needed the doors and they were storing stuff in the main bathroom as well.
Okay. Well, Cheryl should be able to fix that, and we can delegate her the responsibility of just adding in another sentence. Gary said X, Y, Z, and approve these minutes based on that, if everybody's okay. It sounds
Roll
like
call.
time for the roll call. Janice Bennett, you vote.
Aye.
Ed Scheidler,
Aye.
Penny Kirk,
Aye.
and Reg Foster votes aye. Okay, those minutes are all approved. I want to turn the meeting over to Steve, he's consolidated and kind of been working on, improving the executive director's report all into one set of things. And I'm just going to turn it over to you, Steve, to report on here and to take questions.
Okay, thank you. Chairman. So the first item is the monthly financial report, which in your packet, you have the March report, which was given to us on April 14th, just before our April meeting. Well, there's a kind of a little dilemma here, because now this week we had the accountants back for the May report, for the April report, but we just got them literally at 5 o'clock last night. So normally a board would look at the previous month, previous set of books, if you will, and then so you'd have time to read them and comment on them, and question. I know we sent out the April financial reports last night. To be very honest with you, we haven't even gone through them completely in the office, so it's there. It'll be on the next month's agenda, but in the interest of paper, do you want them twice, or do you want them? I'm not sure how we
Well, this
want to
came up,
address that, but
this came up a few months ago. The timing, especially if there's an early third Thursday. So if the third Thursday is on the 15th, which is the earliest third Thursday you could do.
Yeah.
Then if we're trying to meet our goals of getting the board packet out a week before that, we often don't have, not only the financial reports, but we are still scrubbing the vacancy reports and other reports and so forth. So back then, the board said it was acceptable, as our normal practice to just have the monthly reports that go into the board packets be 1 month in arrears. So for this month, they would all reflect March statistics or financials.
the financials, but just to be clear, the vacancy report would be April's.
Well,
So, because
back when
do
we
have
discussed
them.
it, we
Yeah.
talked about it being March, so everything was synced up. But if we,
Yeah, it's just,
what
we
would you
don't control,
recommend?
we don't control when the accountants come out. They'll tell us when they're available. So I guess the real question is, if you want to have an informed discussion about where we are on the budget, it really goes back,
Mhm.
5 or 6 weeks to the previous month, which in this case would be March. And otherwise, you can't really have an informed discussion on what you got last night. As I said, we haven't even been able to go through it. And then by the time we do, it's 6 weeks later too. So it's,
Well, and I now remember one more thing that came up in this discussion, which is when you did do the December financials. Those are the year-end financials. You
Right.
definitely can't get those for January because you've got a whole bunch of closing entries that have got to go in and everything's being footed and so that can't be delivered until February. So personally, I'm okay receiving financials, 1 month in arrears, if that's the right way of doing it. And if you can get the other reports more like the previous month, the April in our case, that's fine with me. That's better, obviously, a bit. How do other commissioners feel about this? I should be looking at the owl when I ask.
Fine with me.
Yeah,
Fine
it's
with
fine with me. Sometimes it's like 30 days net and there's no way you can possibly have it within that time frame to get it out there. So, yeah.
Okay, so why don't we go with your recommendation that we do it that way? The financials are 1 month in lag in arrears, and all the rest of them reflect the previous month.
Right, because those are internal reports.
Okay.
At the end of the month. Okay, thank you. So that next is on my portion is a new monthly report. And Ed, thank you for your ideas, and I took the 3 of them because the financials were in question there. And put it into a 2-page document which shows, if I can find it.
That starts on page 50, if anybody wants to refer to it.
That's why I am page 36. So I titled the monthly management report. and it would have the occupancy, the work orders, and the aging account report. And these would be as of April 30th, because these are internal reports. We have this information. There's no process to do, so. Is there anybody comment on this? I thought it takes a little bit of entry on our part, converting, but it's actually well worth it. I think it comes out as a nice clean report. The vacancy shows a year.
I think it's well presented and well done.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Penny?
Beautiful.
Dennis? Beautiful from Penny, okay.
Readable and a
Yeah.
big improvement, I'd say.
Yeah, it's definitely an improvement.
I just have a couple of questions, and I didn't rehearse this with Steve ahead of time, so, because I realized I had written those questions on the report. And one is on the first of all, I agree, this is great. This is actually a good improvement over what we've received for years here. On the High Rock, let's take the High Rock occupancy report there, or vacancy report. Is that just High Rock Estates? Is there anything, information we have on High Rock Homes?
This is just the estates. The homes are in section 8.
Yeah, so there's High Rock 1 and High Rock Estates 1 and High Rock Estates 2. And one is the section 8, project-based section 8. And the other is the federal
Federal
program.
program. This is the federal program that I'm showing.
So are we getting the section, what I call High Rock Homes?
Yeah.
Just make sure you understand what I'm asking about.
Well, right, the High Rock Homes, I think, is the condos.
Right.
Well,
So
half
we
of them
don't
are
manage them.
condos.
We
No,
don't
I know
manage-
the
yeah.
condos that are owned,
Yeah,
that's it, but the other 20 are apartments.
and so they're referred to one, High Rock
Mhm.
Estates 1 or 2.
Mhm.
Right,
Not
but we
sure
don't
which.
manage those.
Um,
Those are managed by the
but the
group at
project-
Newton.
That-
Yeah.
But we
That's
don't
correct.
manage
The
the units.
condos are managed by NCDF, is
But
that
there's,
correct?
no, the
No.
section 8 units are managed by
NCDF.
NCDF.
Okay,
Because we're the section 8
Right.
agency, we can't do both.
okay.
Right.
So NCDF would have a vacancy report.
Mhm.
We would have a utility report based on section 8 vouchers.
Yeah.
Kind of goes, it could be, it happens to be at High Rock. It could be on Birds Hill or something if there was a development, we don't. So
Right.
we don't know those vacancies.
But in this case, we own those High Rock, 20 High Rock rental units. We outsource the management of it to NCDF. We are a board. We convene every month as a board of the High Rock Homes LLC. And I just throw that out as actually the magnificence of this report made me realize that we had never, ever received any report as to whether all those units are vacant or, there's only one vacancy or something like that. There's no NCDF reports that are being channeled through to us as the board of High Rock Homes LLC.
So, and it's a great question, it
It's a
makes perfect
question,
sense.
yeah.
We will have to, I think we should, now I understand it more. NCDF will have to give us a report on those, and
Yeah,
because
nothing's ever been generated from there before, so.
they're not on our system, so I pull this off of our public housing system, but those units aren't on there as units, they'd be on there as vouchers.
Mhm.
So we'll come up with a solution to that. That's a good one.
Watching you, another tech support note, I'm wondering if I should be sitting on the other side of the table. So I'm looking at the big screen there.
Probably.
Do you want to try
Just,
it? And
no,
see
I
how
don't want
that
to,
hour-
we'll do it at the end of the meeting if we have any time. Yeah, I would be curious to see if that works out better. Sorry, I'm just gonna throw these out as they occur to me here. Okay, the other thing I love the on-counts receivable aging report. So I would have the same question regarding High Rock Homes LLC there. And you don't have to say anything right now because obviously.
Same answer, yeah.
And then I just wanted the captions. What is the difference between tenant rent and balance? Let's just take the first line for Captain Robert Cook. I read this as there are 4 tenants there that have an open either rent in arrears or balance in arrears, but what is the difference between tenant rent and balance? I understand the 30, 60, 90 days stuff. The aging.
Reg,
Yeah.
give a partial answer to that. If you add up the 0 to 30 and those numbers, they add up to the balance number.
Well,
So
they do on the first line, but not the second line. So can I ask Steve to address the question?
Yeah,
And-
it's on the right track.
Yeah.
The rent would be the total billed rent for a month for those units, I
Mhm.
believe is how this report comes out. So if we look at High Rock Estates, total balance is 10, their monthly rent obligation would be 5,869
In total, I see.
in total.
Okay.
Straight, just that monthly rent. And but then there's a balance of 9,100, and so then it's
Okay.
split out over the 30 days. So that's a, like if it was a resident alone, you'd have, like, which I think Seabed now has 3 balances. So if a resident owed $100, it was billed a rent of $100, that would say $100 in the tenant rent. But he might owe $500, which would then fill
Mhm.
the next spot. This just is a,
Well, it can't be all the
Compilation.
tenants. If you look at the seabeds, tenant rent
No.
says 465. That must be just those 3 units.
right, that's what I'm saying. It's just the
Okay,
3
yeah.
units or the 10 units or what it's not the total rent roll.
Yeah. Okay. For a month.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So what it tells you in the total, the monthly rent for all the 20 units would be 12,484.
Hmm,
As far as gross numbers, the balance is 21,000, so we're $9,000 in arrears.
Great. Okay.
Those over those units that are in arrears.
Great. And the one last question, would it be too much trouble to add percentages under the total lines? So, you can say that, I'm just doing this eyeballing, for the total of the federal public housing, 25% of the balance is 90 days. But half, 45% of it's 30 days. Because the thing you worry about is the balances in 90 days, sort of getting those percentages getting large because they get increasingly hard to collect. Something like that. Yeah.
Excel can be.
Okay, any other comments from board members on this? Thank you very much for doing this. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Ed, for your help with this. I appreciate that too. So 2022 Capital Fund Award, what's up going on?
So
with
that we have received notification from HUD of the 2022 Capital Fund Awards. And for 2022, the Needham Housing Authority has been awarded $416,361 in capital fund money. Now that's split between the 2 properties, right? The 3.
That's
properties.
all?
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good number. That's High Rock and Cooksbridge
And
Seabed.
Seabed.
Yeah. So,
464,000?
no, $416,361.
Between all the properties?
Yeah.
Yeah, and is part of that money going towards repaving?
That very likely could happen. That puts our balance in the capital fund up to about $1.3 million. I think.
Okay, so we did the roundtable meeting, excuse me, on last Tuesday, and some of the residents were really interested in that particular project of the repaving. And I know Angie did put that line item in, and she was able to move it up to the 22 budget. But I think I explained to the residents that even though we're scheduled to get the money in 22, the repaving might not come until 23. Am I right on that?
No, not correct, not completely. We don't get the money until we spend it. It becomes we're awarded it, so we're eligible for it, but they don't give us the money until we actually have a bill in hand for work done. That's when we can pull the money down.
So we've got to get a contractor on board that is willing to wait for his money too.
They don't have to wait. We have to have an invoice that's no more than anywhere from 7 to 10 days old. That's a new rule. You used to have to pay it out and then collect, but now it's 7,
Yeah.
maybe 7 to 14 days. So we would have a bill. Once we have the bill, then we could download the money. But before that, it has to be obligated and has to be approved by HUD as far as meeting other requirements in order to bring that money down. The capital fund is not like a regular budget. Our operating budget, we're awarded monthly, and we can draw that money down on a monthly basis. The capital money is not like that. You have to have it obligated, and there are certain dates you have to have it obligated before, and then you have 2 years to spend it.
Well, that was my next question. And when will it have to be spent by? And so what I'm really saying is, even though we do get the money, it won't necessarily be spent in that particular year. In other words, the residents are waiting for the repavement and
Right,
as soon
and
as possible. And
yeah, I would be, to be very honest with you, I think the repavement would probably be something that will hit us next spring.
that's what I mean, next 23, yeah. Yeah.
Because you have to go through a whole, the procurement policy process for that is lengthy. And
The red tape, yeah.
yeah, and the most advantageous is to actually join with the town on their Chapter 90 procurement for road paving. Because then you get better contractors who do better jobs and it's an add-on and you get better pricing. And that's what I found in the past, that you do much better by doing it that way. Because it's not just repaving down there, all the repaving is horrible. There's curb resetting that has to be done, some curb replacement. It's just not, it's not a simple go in and slap new pavement on it. It's gonna take some real work to
Okay,
fix
well,
that road.
that's good because, the residents, it's a good that you can, give them the correct timeline because just because it's in this year's budget doesn't mean it's gonna be done this year.
No,
That's the point I was trying to get across to the
And in fact,
residents.
we're required to have a capital fund meeting for this money and for this program. And we'll do that probably in the next 2 months. I gotta get the dates when we have to have it done. And we'll keep everybody involved. But that's a resident meeting where we come and explain the capital fund and where we are in it and what the plan is going forward.
Yeah, okay,
That's
thank you,
supposed to be done
Steve.
every year. Yeah.
Jessica, you have a comment?
Yes, just about the paving, I know this is not really a spot for like resident stuff, but where I live in the very back corner across from Janice, our parking lot is a mess.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's a mess because there's something going on underground under
Right.
my thing, but
House.
I personally think that needs to be addressed first.
Yeah, well,
So-
and that was my next point. I
Oh,
was gonna say,
okay.
not gonna
Sorry.
wait till next year to do more effective patching than has been done
Right,
and we're aware of that problem.
okay,
What's-
yeah. 'Cause I brought
It needs
up
to be
several times.
investigated,
Yes, right.
but
exactly.
but otherwise, overall, it does need some hot paved
Yeah.
patching. And we'll do that anyway. And I don't want you, if you're gonna bring the word back before our capital meeting, that's not the end all. We're not just patching,
Right,
but we
right,
have to patch for this year.
absolutely.
otherwise
yeah,
we'll be
yeah, yeah.
breaking
Our
axles.
parking lot is a mess.
Yeah.
Janice, I think it's really good that you opened up this line of question so that we can set the expectations correctly. Because I would add one more thing that you didn't mention, but I think we all know, which is the availability of contractors and subcontractors is just totally
So, yeah.
wacko right now between now and the end of the year. So it isn't even bureaucratic red tape things or procurement stuff. Everybody is already booked completely. If you look, just drive around town, I don't think there's any streets left in Needham that aren't being repaved right now. So we really have to recognize that even if we had our act together today, if we're not on somebody's schedule, you don't start projects like this after November 1st because it's
Right.
too cold.
Right.
Right.
So, it's unfortunate, but the good news is we got some money, so that's great.
Yeah, we have.
I also wanted to mention, and I wasn't going to mention this today, but Steve and Gary and Cheryl and I tagged along at our first meeting with Cambridge Housing Authority on the property conditions reports that are being funded in part through the community preservation funds that we won and funded in part by using up our own management reserves. And they show that there are, you can make a case for like millions of dollars of deferred capital maintenance. Above, paving was obviously a big biggie, but above and beyond this, that we should be investing in our property. So that's beginning to start to move along, and we'll be having, right now we're just vetting and correcting problems and omissions and errors right now. But there'll be a lot more information about, like an order of magnitude more cash that we are trying to attract in to really bring all these units of seabeds and up to, up to current standards right now. So stay tuned for that.
Good, thank
So
you.
on the same line, on the same
Newsletter.
line, no,
No, no.
same line item.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is an example of the capital fund at work. Right now, we have a contract ready to be signed for the re-siding of 28 Robert Cook Drive.
Yep.
The bids came out, we had two bidders. We had set aside, there was $48,000 from,
45.
$45,000 from our capital fund from 2018 left over.
Wow,
That was the plan. Now, the bids came in, two bids, one at 188,000, the other one at 79,000.
wow.
Jesus.
So
what a
that's,
difference.
it sounds like a lot of difference, and when I spoke with Jeff from HUD, he goes, well, you'll have to explain why the lowest guy is so low. I said, no, Jeff, if the higher guy would have to explain it, because I've worked with the lower guy, which is PB Contracting, on several jobs that they were the bidder in Norwood, and they were a fine contractor, and we've got good reports back from our architects. So I think what Reg has said about contractors, they're all booked up, so they're gonna throw a number, and if somebody wants to pay them $188,000 for an $80,000 job, then they'll take it. And a year ago, this job probably would have come in under 60 at least,
And 2 years ago, 40.
and 2 years 40.
So it's crazy out there.
So what would ask the board is to allot $34,196.04 for the siding job from the 2019 capital fund money, which is not restricted at this point to anything other than regular capital improvements.
And to
So
be
we
added
get-
to?
To be added to the 2018 money. So that gives us the $79,000 to do this job.
What's the number again?
The number is $34,196.04.
From 2019.
2019.
I will add to that also, and I didn't expect to, but we just went through that evaluation, and where they rated the siding on Captain Robert Cook as, completely beyond its useful life. And-
Yeah, this is the
and
office,
endangering,
we'll be
yeah, I
we'll be
mean,
looking
on
at other
that,
places
right,
too.
right,
Yeah.
But what about the roof there and everywhere?
And the roofs too, poor condition.
Yeah.
That,
and
that
Barry
roof
has
at
a-
28 is horrible.
it doesn't leak though.
No.
So,
It has
no,
a
we're
lot-
aware
Not yet.
Gary has a plan for the roofs. He's kind of working it out, so we may come back with it for a request to change the capital fund, some of it to allot some of it for just roofing and do more quicker. But I have to look into all the capital fund money, because really the paving is right up there. The roofs are second or first, depending on how bad they are.
Yeah.
But this one is, and a couple of them have been done, according to Gary. He did a couple of them already.
So any other comments or to the commissioners, are you looking for a motion from us to
I'd like to
approve
see,
that
to
change?
approve that,
Transfer?
yeah, to
Okay,
approve that
great.
change.
I will make a motion to approve a transfer of $34,196.04, like the 4 cents part, from
It's
the,
actually to utilize
to utilize that
from the capital fund 19.
from the 2019 capital fund allocation for the project to do the siding, to be added to the $40,000 from 2018 to do the siding.
Yes.
On 28 Captain Robert Cook. Is that right?
Second,
Second from Janice. Any further discussion from commissioners? Hearing none, I call the roll vote. Yay. Ed Scheidler,
Aye.
Penny Kirk,
Aye.
Ennis Bennett,
Aye.
Rich Foster votes aye, so that passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Newsletter?
Just to report, and Cheryl's gonna help me with this one because we have a new newsletter coming out, a quarterly newsletter that we're purchasing through
Illustratus.com
Um,
from Kansas City. Nice young company, but we're gonna send them content, which we have. We sent them content of our families and our seniors. And they are gonna put it together in a nice package, a nice glossy newsletter with a lot of color, a lot of information. It's our first pass. It will come out every quarter. So I'm excited to see what it will actually look like. A couple of the staff have helped with putting it together. So we have a multifamily newsletter and a senior newsletter. And those groups will get it every quarter. I like to include something from the Tenants Association
You will.
every month and at least include the officers. I did add the board members to the newsletter and I added, Steve has a nice letter and I put that in both newsletters. We have a calendar in the back that lists the monthly meetings. There's information in the families about pool passes and the community council and how to connect with them on pool passes. I did confer with Sue Biazizo, who's their manager on that, and got some good information. So it's our first pass. And we hope to get better and better. It's a really neat little tool. They have a lot of things at our fingertips that we can add if we run out of content. But their designers are ultimately going to put everything together in a nice, clean package for us based on what we submitted to them as a draft, so to speak. And then we'll have it by the 1st of June for distribution.
So
But-
am I to understand that we're outsourcing our newsletter?
The quarterly newsletter will be outsourced, yes.
And it's gonna be quarterly?
This quarterly newsletter will be quarterly, this newsletter. We will have the
So-
opportunity to do like one-page updates monthly if we have to. But this gets a routine that goes out. We have to have the information in by a certain date.
That's right.
This month it took the effort to get
The 15th.
information out pretty quick because we just signed up with them 10 days before or something, and they have the 15th as a deadline. So this is our first crack at it. We're stealing this from Wellesley and Needham, no, Wellesley and Norwood, excuse me, have done it. I would love to say I brought it to Norwood, but I didn't. My successor did. And that's where I first saw it. Our service coordinators over there love it. And I think you'll see it's a quality product. It's not a whole lot of money either. It's less than, well, the two together is less than $400.
Right, I don't have a question about the money, but I do have a question about how now that the Needham Community Council is now in charge of presenting, awarding pool passes to the Needham Housing Authority, which the resident coordinator has done in the past. But
Yeah.
if they're doing it quarterly, those passes go like that. I mean, we may not have the opportunity to get one. They might be all gone. Unless, Cheryl, you can get them to set aside a stash of them for the residents.
It's actually Park and Rec has sort of partnered with the community council to verify
Right.
food pantry users.
Do you
So
have to
that's-
apply at the council, not at the Park and Rec anymore?
No, you have to go online and apply through Park and Rec. Everything is all online. You have to register. It's a pretty comprehensive process. So it's
I
not.
spoke to Sue and she said you have to call Sandy Robinson. She told me that yesterday.
Yes, but you still need to register online for that pool pass. Community council will verify that you are a food pantry user. And you
Yes,
could
but,
be,
yes, but if that's a quarterly newsletter, I mean, are they gonna send it out in February for the poll passes that are distributed in basically like May or June? I mean,
The quarters will be June 1st, then there'll be September
September,
1st, then
right.
December 1st,
Yeah.
and then March 1st.
Yeah.
So
Is that
I
right?
think
March
the,
1st. So
what
it's
I,
not the newsletter that will deliver the pool passes.
or
If,
the
if
housing
pool passes
authority.
come up in between and we need to get word to people about pool passes, we would do that.
Yeah.
It's not a pool pass newsletter, it's a newsletter for all residents about all those sorts of different things.
Hmm.
But as I said, we will have the option in-house to put out a monthly update or a monthly bulletin alert on things like that. And that's, you know, it wouldn't increase the amount of newsletters that we would do for pool passes. I ran a pool pass program in Norwood for 17 years, and the housing authority actually made a donation, and we would take names until a certain point, and give away that money. So I'm fully on board with doing a pool pass. And Cheryl or I will call Sandy tomorrow. I've known Sandy for a long
Yeah.
time, and find out if that's what we have to do.
But
Or
as I
if we
say.
have, yeah,
you-
Sandy's
you-
great.
You absolutely have to, the Park and Rec, their website has a lot of great
Yeah.
information on there about how to go about getting a pool pass and how to register for one.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things you absolutely have to do.
but let me bring the discussion up a level to what I'm hearing in my ears, which is you're coming out with a new great newsletter approach, quarterly approach. The concern is that what happens if, more frequent updates are needed. And I hear you saying, well, then we'll put out a monthly update like we do now.
Yeah.
And in between,
Right.
and there won't be anybody missing any critical information that they need
And
to
the pool
have.
doesn't open
Yeah.
until June 20.
No, but the pool is just an
Right.
example.
But
I'm
that's
just
an
trying, I think the
example.
real question is,
Because this is coming out on June
Yeah.
1st, residents will have enough time.
yeah, so just
Yeah.
as, but I think the real issue is that more frequent enough? And the answer is with the monthly updates as needed, yes, it will be. And
okay,
definitely- Yeah.
Steve, I just have like a little certain dilemma. Like last year, I was collecting a lot of money from unemployment. I did not see the need to use the food pantry. I would leave it to others, but I was donating. As a matter of fact, I was donating cash to them, okay? But, so now, since I haven't been active using their food pantry, I have now been taken off the list. But I still want to get a pool pass.
You shouldn't be using your own personal examples to make points as in the commissioners meeting here. So I just caution you about that. But if you, I would, can you take what you're suggesting and, continue to communicate with Cheryl and Steve about it?
Yeah. Give us a
Well,
call.
I
would say
didn't
that's probably
really
true.
mean to make light. I was just kind of
No,
using it.
probably true. It's probably true of a lot of people who had unemployment benefits last year that they would not normally have had. So I'm sure Sandy has an answer for that. And we'll talk to her tomorrow. I'll give her a call tomorrow morning. We'll find out. We can't.
Yeah,
get that
I know I can get back in on it, but I was with the attitude, I didn't want to take food away from people that, I didn't need it, so.
Let's take that way, by way of illustration of.
Penny has a
issue.
question.
Yeah, go ahead, Penny.
Will there be guidance for people who do not have computers or don't know how to go online and do all that?
Yes.
Will there be guidance provided?
We'll offer help. I mean, we'll offer help in the
Good.
office.
Excellent.
Any other comments on the newsletter? Let's go to the Needham Housing Authority YouTube channel, Steve.
So I want every commissioner to make a YouTube video for us so we can post it on TikTok. No, I'm just kidding. We now have a YouTube channel, so your images will be kept on the internet in perpetuity of the meetings and stuff. And I think Chairman Foster has loaded up a lot of stuff that he had. It's a, this would never have happened to Norwood to us because we don't film, but but Needham is, that's the way Needham's working, not just Housing Authority, that's how the boards are working.
So if you go to
we respect that.
YouTube, well, this is what Needham, the town of Needham has done.
Right.
So we did in fact ask them, this is how they're recording all their meetings and is that large enough for people to see on
Yes.
your remote screen? So this is just a first start. And, you know, we always get requests periodically for people, gee, I missed the board meeting, can I get the board recording? And I don't think there's anybody that hasn't requested that in the last year or two now that we started doing it. So what it's been set up with the advice of the town of Needham's IT department. And what we have here is just a start. You could, if you search for Needham Housing Authority and look for our symbol, you will get this site. It basically contains right now the videos for all the 2022 meetings that we've had. And then a couple more videos, which are the training sessions we had for the Modernization Redevelopment Initiative. So you guys are all beta testers. And if you have any comments, please get them into Steve and Cheryl here.
Why are all those meetings on YouTube for the public?
Well, they're there because you can watch it. If somebody calls up and says, I missed the meeting, send me a link. They can instead just go there and stream the video themselves. And if, again, we generally try to copy what the town of Needham does. And they've been trying to figure out what to do since the COVID era started. Is the planning board and the select board and every board is, you know, is now done by Zoom and has been being videotaped. And this is how they're managing it.
That's terrific.
It's
So-
ingenious. I'm amazed.
Those nights that you can't sleep, you can revisit.
No, just
meetings.
what you want to do, you know.
Yeah,
Your time. Lastly, but not leastly, clarification of the assistant executive
Well, I have
director.
more than that, so. Just, there was a question about the budget for the assistant director's position. And with the withdrawal of the town meeting article that would have allowed some capital, community investment funds to go there, community CRP funds.
Community Preservation Act
Funds,
funds,
thank you.
yes.
The position is fully funded in our budget through the programs that we have. So there's no, we don't have to tell Cheryl to go home at noontime. We like to keep her there all day. And we're good through the rest of the year for that. Just to let everybody know that is funded at this point.
Yay.
Then I have a couple of other things to talk about. Let me get the bad news. Well, not bad. It's not bad news. It's like, but well, it is. We have a bill came in today from lawyers for the lawsuit about the NHA versus former employee or former the name Tran. And that's in the amount of a little over $5,000. Just that's information only at this point. We have this weekend is the Mass Narrow Conference at Seacrest. Cheryl and I will be there for the full 3 days or 2.5 days. And our two principal clerks will be there for Monday all day. So I know they're excited about that opportunity to meet some people. I've warned them that people that tend to know who I am, so they're going to be introduced to a whole bunch of people. So I look forward to doing that and introducing and bringing Cheryl down and get her to meet everybody. On Wednesday afternoon, I think it's afternoon, it might be 11 in the morning. I'll confirm. People from, I believe they're from the Chamber of Commerce, but it's a fellow from Keller Williams Realty is going to meet Gary or one of the maintenance crew, and we're going to erect two little libraries, one here at Linden Street and one at Robert Cook Drive. So that'll be Wednesday. I'll send out the times for everybody if you wanted to come by, for a photo op.
Will that be
whatever.
like one of the little podiums that like take a book, leave a book?
Yes, yep,
Oh, nice, nice.
library project, and which is great to have. I know we had one in Norwood in front of our little schoolhouse thing, and it came up last week as a question. And they came to me and said, are we going to let them do this? And I said, absolutely, we're going to let them do it. So I made that decision. It's a great little program. I know they're around town. You see one up at Town Hall. I'm sure there are others too. that I haven't
Yeah, they're
seen.
all around.
Yeah, so, and so that brings up opportunities to donate books to them. Few at a time, though, not a lot, but, so that'll be a good little addition to the community. And, oh, I've almost passed over it. As we talk about resident service coordination, Ed had looked up some funding opportunities a few weeks ago, and I had told him that funding opportunities only happen when there's a request for a notice of funding opportunity is what they call now, called a NOFO. Well, as of yesterday afternoon, late afternoon, NOFO came out for Ross grant applications. So the Ross grant is generally it's a 3-year grant in the amount of around $240,000 for full-time service coordination for federal properties. So I've have a price of $1,750 from a consultant who wrote our application in Norwood, which we've had now 3 times renewed. So they will write the grant and file the grant request. It'll take work with our staff to put together numbers. We'll need support letters from different agencies in town, but the submission is due July 18th. So I would ask the board to vote to contract with Ian Tink, who is the consultant, in the amount of $1,750 to write our grant application for a Ross grant.
I'll second that.
Second.
Great.
Somebody had to make a motion, so.
Oh, did
Janice
I'll
made
make
the
a
mo- I don't
motion.
get to make motions.
Okay. Janice made a
I used
motion
to
that
here,
we.
but
I'll make a motion that we approve Steve's motion.
I'm sorry, did I say, I didn't mean to make a motion. Thank you,
Let's
Janice.
help Cheryl out, and Janice makes a motion that we approve Steve hiring the consultant to write the Ross grant application for $1,750, and that was seconded by, I didn't get it.
I think Penny did.
Penny, okay, Penny seconded. Any further discussion?
Just one more point. The first time we applied for it, we're not successful. The second time we were, and then we have, 3 times since then. There's only 125 grants this year, so it is highly competitive. But that, the better application we do, the better chance we have. And we start going for it now. If we don't get it this year, the next 1 or 2 years later, there's another opportunity. So I don't want to raise expectations, but I'd be really hopeful that we get this.
Okay, is there a certain way that the grant could be written? Do we have a great grant writer here?
He's won us 4 of them in Norwood with this grant. And he had other grants too for other housing authorities around the state particularly.
Okay,
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call the roll. Penny Kirk,
Aye.
Ed Scheidler,
Aye.
Dennis Bennett,
aye.
Reg Foster votes aye, carries 4-0 with 1 absence. Great. Anything else?
I think that's it for now.
Excellent. All right, great. So we're going to move on to status updates on our external initiatives, starting with Ed Scheidler and the Housing Plan Working Group. Ed, is there any significant update of what's going on there?
Yes, the Housing Plan Work Group has sent out a questionnaire on to local residents on what they would like to, what their preferences are for housing development in Needham. And that survey is out now. I believe that the information will be presented at a May 26th meeting. And I'll have something to report our meeting following that. If anybody needs information on a link to take the survey that did not receive one, just let me know and I'll certainly get that to you.
Great. All right, and I should probably add that I was approached by Ed Cosgrove, who's on the committee with Ed, but is part of a different subcommittee. I think it's the planning subcommittee or something like that, to find out more about what's going on with the Needham Housing Authority Modernization Redevelopment Initiative. And I guess they're looking all over town for, properties that can be redeveloped. So I did a coffee with him a couple weeks ago. Okay, I'm going to go to what it now says is the Preservation and Redevelopment Initiative. There's several things there. The first of which is a proposed name change. Again, I don't know if this really particularly needs a board vote. But the Cambridge Housing Authority, about a few months into our working with them, starting last summer, said, you really should call this the Preservation and Redevelopment Initiative, because that is the more standard terminology for this sort of thing. We're not modernizing our existing units at Seabed and Cook. We're preserving them for the next 50 years. That's the sort of normal terminology to use, but we were so far into submitting our applications and everything that we never did want to change it to confuse people here. But they've recommended that from this moment henceforth, we refer to what we're doing for the next few years as the Preservation and Redevelopment Initiative. And then particularly our funding sources that we'll be approaching at both the HUD level, the federal level, and the state level will say, aha, we know what you're doing, as opposed to modernization, I guess, connotes that we're adding, I guess marble counters or doing, solid walnut, bookshelves or kitchens or something like that, and confuses people here. So I just want to let people, the board, know about that. Is there any questions or concerns or comments on that?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you just so I can bring it to the residents and get the language straight. I believe it's going to start over at, I think I told the residents that the other day that the only articles that were passed from finance were for the study over at Linden and Chambers, and that they would only fund for Linden and Chambers, and probably have to go back to the drawing board for next year for funding for Seabeds and Captain Robert Cook. Am I right so far?
Not quite, no.
Okay. Well, just let me go
I
ahead.
was about to report on that next, if you want me to just continue here, which doesn't have to do with the name change, but we did win 2 proposals at town meeting.
Town meeting, yeah.
And we win 1.5 proposals, and we lost, we were rejected on 2.5 of them, and I was going to report on that. If you want, I can go right to that next. And then,
Okay, I just wanted to say, that they're not going to be actually knocking down buildings per
no,
se.
not at all.
Yeah. Not even at Linden Chambers?
At Seabeds and Cook, no knocking down of buildings. Linden.
No, they're
Chambers,
just gonna upgrade them.
Yeah, but at Linden Chambers, 3 rounds of consultants have said, they're too far gone, particularly Linden Street, that it's much cheaper, whatever we wind up doing, to basically knock them down and redo it, do whatever we do there. Okay, so, and probably the same thing for Chambers Street, although there are some ideas of maybe they could be worked in, rehabbed, but, worked into some final solution. That's what the Linden Chambers funding that we got from the town is going to figure out over the next 15 months, is exactly what is it that we can do and should be doing there. at that 8-acre site.
So Linden is gonna be knocked out and you're gonna save what you possibly can refurbish over at Chambers.
Maybe.
And as far as, when it comes to Seabeds and Cooks, I think I heard the residents, they didn't want any new, like 3-4 story elevated buildings, so I'm with the frame that they're just gonna be rehabbed to the max.
So right now, adding any additional building there is not even on the table right now. That's not what's being considered. The 2019 study, the facilities master plan said it is possible to do that, but we're not pursuing that right now. All we're pursuing is what we're now calling the preservation of Seabeds and Cook. And in those units, we're just looking at the reports. Basically, the reports are saying they're not going to last for another 50 years. There are certain systems and parts of the building, they're not going to last 5 years or 10 years. And so you need to put in millions of dollars of capital improvements to kind of make it possible for them to last next 50 years. That's what we're focusing on right now. We originally submitted a proposal for the funding for Seabeds, Cook, and High Rock Estates. The town council evaluated and on a technicality said CPA Funding Act, the Community Preservation Act funds cannot be used for technical reasons for High Rock, for Seabeds and Cook. Something that our consultants disagreed with completely. And we fought and lost that, fought that opinion and lost it. So we won't receive full funding for the High Rock Estates part of the application, and zero funding for the studies that needed to be done for Seabeds and Cook.
But we're
However,
going back next year for that, right?
no, he's ruled it not eligible at all for Seabeds and Cook ever. But let me just finish my sentence in there, and then I think you understand. We are already going forward to do the Seabeds and Cook anyway. Those are the studies that we're looking at. We will be paying for it out of our management funds saved up from the High Rock Homes first round that was done in the 2000s. So we have over $650,000 of a development fund there. And it's a no-brainer to go forward with these expenditures because it'll bring millions of dollars a year of additional funding in for Seabeds and Cook and High Rock Estates. And that is still going forward. That's really gets to the 2022 PRI budget update.
And that was that money coming, that's through the fair cloth that we had discussed.
Oh, Faircloth is another part of the jigsaw puzzle, and it's great that you brought that up. We don't have time to get into it, but we will be scheduling follow-up board meetings in the summer. You remember the two that we had last November, where the board will be reviewing final decisions to be made. Now that we've done these studies, we will be getting resident input, of course, as part of that process. But what it indicates is that we're on track to be able to realize, very substantial increase in our funding from the feds. And when I say that, right now we receive about $1.5 million a year. And we'll be able to go to 2.5 or maybe $3 million a year. And then you also will be able to, under certain scenarios, generate a new Faircloth authority, which is what you're asking about. And let's not get into that tonight, but that will allow us to fund additional affordable housing units here in Needham. And it can be either used, to support what we're doing on the federal side, or interestingly, it is a very attractive possibility of it can be used on the state side to support what we need to do at Linden Chambers. And that's where we really have a big deficit of construction funding, is on the state side. So stay
Yeah.
tuned. This is all going to on track to become, to be, coming to a head this summer for some real decisions that lead to applications for very substantial amounts of money on the federal side this fall. And we'll be pursuing the Linden Chambers thing in parallel as well.
Okay.
And with that, I want to say, just, does anybody have any questions or comments regarding the Cambridge Housing Authority monthly report that's in your board packet?
I want to thank you, Reg, for not reading it because there was I believe, a discussion a few weeks back that we were going to go to the Q&A, and as long as we were able to read it in the minutes, but somehow I have to rethink that and disagree because the residents would like to know, and I think they deserve to know, and I think they deserve to ask their own questions as well.
Agreed. Yes,
So-
Penny.
Yeah, on page 55, number 2, other opportunities.
Yes.
Roman numeral 2, the acquisition opportunity at 1180 Great Plain Ave.
Yep.
Wasn't that the building you and I looked at about 3 years ago?
Yes.
Okay, because it's
Good
been almost
question.
sold a couple of times and they keep looking at
Oh.
it. I can't remember why you decided it wasn't a good idea.
Well, what happened is we looked at it and then they sold it to a developer. And then the developer actually tried to develop it and went back to the planning board saying, this is what we want to do recently, and got shot down. So it was
So
back
now
on the
he's selling
market.
it.
Beg your pardon?
So now he's selling it. I thought that you thought it wasn't practical at the time.
Well, it had deficiencies. Partly it has to do with the small size. Partly it had to do with parking in the neighborhood. It's sort of crammed in there next to the church. I think it's the original Christian Science Center facility.
Yeah. The
For those
nursing
of
home.
you've been around, that you've been around. But one of the things that has been part of the process for the last few years is watching all of the potential properties that could help us out, particularly with respect to swing space. Remember, that's a big issue, both for, the Seabeds and Cook, temporary space for renovations, High Rock Estates, of course, a bigger kind of issue, and Linden Chambers. So I've been, as a committee of one monitoring all those properties for the last few years. I've turned that over to Cambridge Housing Authority. And we're just keeping track of things. So the reason it's in this report is it popped up last month or the month before as on the market again. And so we went and took a look at it, said, gee, is there anything different about this that we might be interested in? The answer is no, there isn't. But, we've been watching the Muzzy Ford property. That's now in play again. They want to make changes there. The Wingate property is another one that's in the state of transition. The Carter factory, that one is, they're back to the drawing boards trying to change what they were planning to do with it and stuff. So we're just kind of monitoring those things, looking, most of them probably won't turn into anything for us. The fourth area, Ed is on top of monitoring, which is there is this new MBTA community, community bylaw change legislation that, where Needham has to develop higher density housing districts around our MBTA commuter rail station. So, it's a very interesting, active time. We're trying to keep our finger on what's going on everywhere. So that's what that one is.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Shall we move on?
Yep.
Okay. We are
Design selection committee.
designer selection committee here.
Final.
So I sent out to the board this afternoon the applications for the 2 final members that we've zeroed in on to make up a really, I think, very high quality 5-person designer selection committee. To recollect, no board members are allowed to be on that committee. This is when we use the 1.386 million that we got awarded from town meeting, put out a big RFP for an architect engineering firm to do the schematic design and all the other analysis on Linden Chambers. It is advantageous for us to form a local designer selection committee to make the final pick. So the 5 people are, in no particular order, are in the resolution here. And it consists of Karen Huey, who would be representing the Linden Chamber tenant community, and of course is well known to all of us for all her work she's done over the years. Helen Gregory, which some of us know, she's on the Council on Aging. She's also on the Housing Plan Working Group with Ed as the Council on Aging representative, and is sort of assigned to us at the Needham Housing Authority. And Haril Pandya, who's a very impressive architect that lives here in Needham, filling that required slot required by the regulations. Natalie Jansen as the CHA project management representative, and she'll be the de facto chair and organizer of the committee, and our very own interim executive director, Steve Merritt. I've interviewed all those people. Cambridge Housing is aware and looked over all those people, and the recommendations come from leading members of the town. Particularly helpful was Mary Ann Cooley, our current chair of the select board, and zeroing in on the right kind of people here for our committee. So I'm recommending to the board that we approve this designer selection committee slate of members here, and then Cambridge will submit it to DHCD and put it through the process of approval there. Any questions or comments from anybody? Hearing none, I make that motion to approve the persons I just cited for the NHA's local selection committee. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, with no further discussion, I will call the roll. Janice Bennett,
Aye.
Ed Scheidler,
Aye.
Lee Kirk,
Aye.
Reg Foster votes aye. So that is approved. Okay, we are at the end of the regular agenda and ready to go into the annual meeting agenda.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
I don't very rarely, I very rarely call out any expenditures. But I do have to call out one particular item on the vendors. It's number 34226 for the Needham Garden Center for a rate of $146.
Janice, I have an explanation for that because I signed it
Gentlemen and
yesterday.
ladies, we were already approved that many minutes ago here. And
But it was not
I
just a
asked
rake.
them-
There
Yeah.
were spare parts for a chainsaw as well.
So I would ask anybody who has any comments on the warrant, to ask them at the time we're voting on them, and not a few minutes or an hour later here. So I earnestly request that of the members of the Board of Commissioners
Well,
here.
thank you, Reg. I appreciate that, but me being a first year newbie, 1 month past.
I don't know, you don't get your honeymoon period, I think, is officially over here.
But
So-
you have to admit, $146 for a rake is.
It's not, did you hear me?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard you. It was, I
Right.
heard you. Well, they should have stayed.
So-
So
I'm
Thank you.
calling the annual meeting of the Needham Housing Authority, Board of Commissioners, and members of the Needham Housing Authority to order. And I don't think we have to have a roll call on that, I believe. The first order of business is the election of the 2022 officers, but before we get there, I wanted to raise the, obvious point that Eleanor Evans could not be here. And it seemed from her email, she was okay with us for proceeding, but on the other hand, she isn't here. What is the will or the comfort level of the commissioners in proceeding forward tonight? We
I
can,
think we
do
should
under
hold
the
off
by,
until next month.
we do have that option under the bylaws, yes. Go ahead, Penny.
You said that she was willing to remain as vice chairman.
We did, yes. But could not do chair this year because of her, commitments, other commitments here. I would also wanted to say in this context, I will not be able to attend next month's meeting due to a irresolvable conflict, I guess I would say. I'm in one of my other lives, I'm a associate producer of a full-length feature animated film, 95 minutes, called My Love Affair with Marriage, which we completed in February, and we were selected for the Tribeca Film Festival in New York for our world premiere, followed by the Annecy International Film Festival in Annecy, France, which is where I will be during the next month's Housing Authority meeting. It will be
My
the
heart
first
is
meeting.
bleeding for you.
I know, we got a movie star.
First meeting I've missed in quite some time, but I'm going to have to invoke personal privilege on that. So more seriously, I will not, I will certainly sell you a copy to stream the video after its world premiere, but unfortunately I will not be able to make the meeting that week. I will be back the following week. But
So would Eleanor be running the meeting?
Yes.
Did you say you're gonna sell us a copy?
I don't think I'm allowed to say that in public in a commissioners meeting. So I
Copies will be
don't
available
think
for
I said
sale,
that,
for purchase.
yeah, but I certainly will send you a link if you're interested. So,
Next year's entry is going to be the best of the Needham Housing Authority meetings.
yeah, again, the movie is called My Love Affair with Marriage. So that's the title.
Is it a comedy?
Says all of us who have been probably married at one time or another or still are. Yeah, I don't think I'll dignify that question with an answer.
Okay.
All right.
That's great.
So unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to attend next month if we had the annual meeting there. We could, I guess, move the board meeting, the annual meeting to the following week, but I'm open. I don't know quite how to proceed here. We're not allowed to have deliberation in between the meetings as to a slate of commissioners. More than two of us talking together is not allowed. So we are constrained in having that discussion in
Let's
public.
simplify it and I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move that we have a slate of Reginald Foster for the chairman, Eleanor as vice chair. And if anybody else wants treasurer, fine. If not, I'll remain as treasurer. Do I
Second.
have a second? Okay, we have a second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will bring it to a roll call vote. I will ask Mr. Scheidler to go first as a proponent,
Aye.
and Ms. Kirk,
Aye.
and Ms. Bennett,
Aye.
and the chair, and Rich Foster votes aye. So I guess we do have a new slate for the next year. Thank you very much to Ed for helping us out with that.
We better get that tape, Ed. I mean-
Moving along, we
probably
have some
learned
housekeeping. It's late. We've had a pretty good, efficient meeting. Let's have some housekeeping to do. So let's go ahead and do that. Items number 3 and 4 on the agenda, G3, G4, just board information items. Right now, we have a designated representative of the Community Preservation Committee, which is me. We have a designated, appointee, it says nominee, but it's actually an appointee to the Council on Aging, which is Sandra Prin. We always ask every year at the annual meeting whether we want to change that or not. Does anybody have any interest in changing those designations? Okay. Number 5 is logistically important. Our bylaws, for some reason, lost in the mists of history, say that every checks are signed by 2 commissioners, one of which must be the treasurer, but we found it convenient to broaden that every year to include all 5 commissioners, any 2 of which can sign the checks. So I'm going to go ahead and make the motion, which is right here, that any 2 commissioners are authorized to approve and sign checks by the Needham Housing Authority or High Rock Homes LLC. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Penny. Any further discussion? Call the roll. Janice Bennett,
aye.
Scheidler,
Aye.
Ray Kirk,
Aye.
Rich Foster votes aye. Okay,
Before you move on, Mayor,
yes, go ahead.
just before you move on from that, I just want to throw out for, not necessarily for discussion, but for thought over the next few months. Most housing authorities now utilize either a electronic stamp or a hand stamp process to sign checks. It's the way we've done it. I've done it for.
Like
more
we
than-
do for the warrants, you mean?
You do that for the warrants?
No, we don't.
No.
Just, we've taken to doing DocuSign for the warrants is what Janice is referring to, but that's not what
Yeah,
you
that's not what
mean.
I'm saying.
It's a
though.
wet stamp, like a
Right.
ink pad is
Like
what
an
you're
ink
asking.
stamp.
Yeah.
Oh, so we would all have our own?
We would have them in the office in a safe, locked up, and the office would
That's
stamp,
great.
be able to stamp checks.
My
So
handwriting.
instead of our signature, we stamp?
You don't have to stamp, our financial person would stamp the check. You still get the list of bill schedule to approve or not approve, but it would mean that you wouldn't have to come into the office to sign checks. Like I said, if you think about, I mean, Norwood was a little bit larger than here, but if you thought about someone like Cambridge or Boston, the commissioners aren't going in. Boston doesn't have commissioners, so that's not a good example. Brockton, they don't have commissioners going in to sign checks. And a lot of smaller authorities don't have that anymore either. So it's just, I'm throwing it out there for you to think about, not asking for a
I
decision.
love it. I love the idea.
Like you say, you still
So
have,
we're behind in the times.
yes, but you still have the right to question, like you did tonight, Janice, on the payments. Everything like that stays the same. It's just that mechanically, you don't have to come down and hand sign checks. That's where it would come from.
I usually don't question the money, Steve. I just thought,
No, but it's fair to do that. I'm just saying that doesn't
I
take that
know.
away. It's like,
If I didn't, somebody should.
Well, and just to use a real and serious example, about once a year, or once every other year, there's something that's noticed by a commissioner.
Yeah.
I remember there was a $10,000 individual water bill or something like that,
Yeah.
that somehow didn't get noticed. So under those circumstances, if that was raised as a question that couldn't be answered on the spot in a board meeting, then that check, we would just trust the staff and the executive director just not to stamp that check with our signature, and you'd stamp all the rest of them.
exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. I hear general support for that.
I would just suggest if you want to make a motion tonight, if you want to postpone it to the next meeting.
Let's wait until Eleanor is
Mhm.
here,
You know,
because I know she
that's-
cares about, with
Yeah.
her lawyerly background for nonprofit organizations. I think we should give her a chance to weigh in. So,
Whatever, I just bring it up.
all right, I'm going to go to agenda item G5.5, which I realized wasn't on the exact agenda, but it was in your board packet. on the agenda for a resolution to approve the submission to DHCD of a one-year waiver affirming Janet Bennis as a Needham Housing Authority Tenant Commissioner for the period starting August 10th, 2022. So to refresh everybody's memory on that, DHCD finally promulgated regulations last year, transitioning all towns in the Commonwealth to requiring one tenant associated nominated select board appointed resident commissioner for every housing authority, town housing authority. And a year ago, we decided that we have already an elected tenant commissioner in the form of Janice, who had just been elected. And we'd always had a tenant commissioner for years, as far as I know, back to Cheryl Gosman's time and before that, and to Steve's
before
time
that.
and way before that. And so we went through a waiver procedure with DHCD that involved the town of Needham saying, okay, the designated elected position that would turn into the appointed position is the one occupied by Janice. If we had not done that, then it would have been the first vacated, elected tenant commissioner position, which last year would have, and still is, would have been Penny Kirk's position. So this waiver, unfortunately, or just bureaucratically, has to be submitted once every year. And I've just thought that the annual meeting is the right time for us to reapprove that waiver. And when we do that in this meeting in May, it then goes to the town of Needham and the select board for comment in June. And then the paperwork gets filled out at the end of June and goes in time for the renewal date, which is August 10th, 2022. So that's what the background of this is. Any comments or questions on that? So Janice, this is your chance if you don't want to be re-upped here as the waiver here. But I think it's certainly something I support. So I make that motion that I just read. Do
Second,
I have a second from Penny? Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call the roll again. Penny Kirk,
aye.
Ed Scheidler,
Aye.
Janice Bennett,
Aye.
and Rich Foster votes aye. So that disposes of that agenda item. Agenda item number, congratulations, Janice.
Thank you.
Agenda item G6, that we always do once a year, housekeeping wise, the regular time for the monthly meeting and the best starting. I don't think there's any reason to change that at this point. We do that at this later hour in the evening to accommodate Eleanor's work schedule, and that hasn't changed. Someday in the future, we may make that earlier. Go ahead, Penny.
All the meetings that are listed as starting at 6 o'clock.
Good catch. How did that happen?
Where are those?
I thought it was a delightful change.
Who did that, Cheryl?
I did that.
I
I'm
was-
sorry. I apologize.
I think everybody would support that.
It's her
But-
birthday. It's her
That's
birthday.
It's her birthday.
Birthday.
That's a typo. I
right.
apologize.
Happy birthday.
To
Hey,
you.
after the meeting is adjourned, please, okay? All right. Because we're almost there. So I let Steve about a week or two ago that on top of everything else, there's an annual report from the executive director as required in the bylaws. And he said, there is, and he said me that. And he's requested that we postpone that report until next month. Circumstances of his moving down the learning curve here. I assume he's okay with that.
Yes.
So- And so if there's no other business of the members at the annual meeting, I guess I make a motion that we adjourn the annual meeting.
Second.
We return to the regular meeting.
And we return to the regular meeting,
So I go
and
back.
there is no further business there.
Yes, there is.
Oh, there is,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Merritt.
I'm sorry, so I was so concerned with the capital fund switch of the money, I forgot to ask for the approval of the board to award the contract for the siding to P Moore Contracting in the amount of $79,888.
Is this for the 28, Captain Robert Cook?
Yes, this is for the siding job. This is the money that we have now said will come out of the 19 capital fund, but I forgot, I had the contract for you.
I'll make that motion to approve that money for the siding.
Second,
Okay. Second, by Penny. Any further discussion? We've already had discussion pretty much. Hearing none.
vote aye.
One, yes, Penny, Ed,
Aye.
Ennis.
Aye.
Edge votes aye, and it passes 4-0. And now I make a motion to adjourn. Can we do it?
I'm ready.
All right.
Second.
Thank you.
Adjourn the meetings. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And Janice votes what?
Aye.
Ed votes what?
Aye.
Penny votes what?
Abstain.
And Reg votes yes. So I think I heard 4 ayes there, and we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. And now we can sing happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday
you.
to you.
Happy birthday to
to
you.
you.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday.
dear Cheryl. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to you.
Yay!
Fellow.
At which point I'm going to turn the meeting off here. So thank you, everybody.
Night,
Good meeting.
everybody.
You.
Good
Night,
night.
everybody.